What's up, guys? It's your boy, Inconsistent YouTuber, back with a weekly Ayashimon review. Before we get into Chapter 9, I just want to quickly apologize for missing Chapter 8 last week. I did actually film a Chapter 8 review video for Ayashimon, but I personally didn't think that it was up to stuff. As a content creator, I just kind of want to put my best foot forward on my channel, not that I think I ever really do, but I thought that this particular video was specifically meh. Overall, I think I gave the chapter an 8 out of 10 or something. It was a pretty good chapter. Maybe one day I'll make a video looking back at it or something. So today we're just gonna start fresh and bushy-tailed again with Chapter 9 of Ayashimon. So if you're new to this series, I review each and every new chapter of Ayashimon on 4 different categories, and I give those categories a score out of 10, and at the end of the video, I put all those scores together and take the average to get the overall chapter score. I also like getting your guys' opinion as well, so feel free to leave your scores out of 10 for Chapter 9 of Ayashimon down in the comments below. Then next week in the Chapter 10 video, I'll relook at those and we can get an overall true chapter score with your guys' score in mind. Alrighty, with all that out of the way, let's just jump into Chapter 9. So the first thing I wanted to get out of the way with characters was our good old main character, Maruo Kaido, who until now, I have been very, very critical of because he definitely feels like a bit of a nothing character, as I've said before. But I think everyone would be in agreement with me if I said that this was Maruo's best chapter yet. Yeah, it's a little late in the series for this, but it actually kind of feels like he's finally becoming a real character. This I love manga shtick that he's been keeping up for a while has kind of taken a new form now, where it used to be a bit of a boisterous, almost annoying thing that he was doing. It's kind of taken on a bit more of a tragic undertone now. And I've talked about it before. It was hinted at in Chapter 1 that potentially Maruo's love of manga and becoming a manga protagonist stemmed from the fact that he was escaping his shitty, abusive father by reading these manga series and trying to become and projecting on to these main characters of manga series. And I also think it's going to be really good for Maruo going forward that he got kind of a brutal beatdown from Chairman Doppo, because this is kind of what I've wanted to see for a while. I want to see that Maruo is not invincible both physically, mentally, and emotionally. I want to see his weaknesses. I want to see what makes him a character that I myself can relate to. And this is the first time since the beginning of the series where I feel like Maruo is a character that I can really put myself in his shoes. And the thing I like most about him is that overall, at his core, he's just a really nice and loyal kid. I really like that about him. He actually, in some ways, reminds myself of myself a little bit. Except for the nice and loyal part. I guess maybe he has brown hair too, maybe that's what it is. The next character I wanted to talk about, actually I didn't want to talk about him because until now I've despised him, but we're going to talk a little bit about Ten. This was a pretty big dick chapter for Ten, I think. As much as I hated him at first, it seems like Ten was actually able to grow a pair of balls when it mattered most and helped out his new family when they were in trouble. Maybe he won't be quite as useless as I thought. Alright, that's about as much of a stomach as I have for talking about Ten, so let's move on to Urara. First of all, I just absolutely love Urara's new monster design. That said, I did spend about 2 hours this morning looking through different Japanese folklore stories and yokai tales, trying to pinpoint the exact origin of her new monstrous forms design inspiration, but I can't really seem to find anything that exactly matches it. Potentially she could take inspiration from Doomeki, the demon with thousands of eyes covering her body, or she could also potentially take inspiration from Okuri Inu, a black wolf that pounces on travelers that lose their footings on rocky paths at night. I know some of you guys that watch these videos are also super interested in Japanese folklore and yokai specifically, so if you have any ideas as to what her inspiration could be, could you please let me know in the comments below, because I myself am very, very curious about that. I talked about this a little bit in last week's video that will never see the light of day, but I'll talk about it again now. The tanto, or the traditional style Japanese dagger that Urara holds, also has a lot of symbolism in Japanese culture. If you don't know what a tanto is, it's basically a samurai's indoor self-defense weapon. It's kind of like a katana, but a dagger, really short. Right here I have a actual antique Japanese wakizashi, which is bigger than a tanto. This is just a very small wakizashi I have. It's about a tanto and a half in length, really. But I thought maybe I'd show you guys what one looks like. There we go. That's pretty cool, right? I'm gonna make a video about this wakizashi in specific at some point. But a Japanese blade, whether it's a tanto, a wakizashi, a katana, an odachi, whatever it is a symbol of great beauty. Especially in a symbolic sense, I think the fact that Urara has a tanto that controls her massive power will be something that's going to be pretty huge in the story going forward. Overall, I think this chapter is probably the best chapter for the main characters that we've had in over a month, so I think it's just going to be a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I think it's safe to say that Chapter 9 is finally the place where Ayashimon starts to find its stride as a series. I've seen a lot of criticism and comments online that people have had about this series, where they're critical of the fact that Ayashimon doesn't seem to have very much forward momentum, and I don't entirely disagree with that. But I think Jigokuraku sensei needed a little bit of time for his new story and his new characters to kind of settle into their place as the new guy in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. One of the biggest criticisms I've seen about the series so far is that the power scaling is somewhat remedial, and it makes all of the fight schemes seem kind of shallow and stakeless, and I don't entirely disagree with that either. I think I remember a Reddit comment saying recently that what sets Jigokuraku sensei apart from other mangaka of very popular Shonen Jump series like Jujutsu Kaisen's Gege Akutami and Demon Slayer's Koyoharu Gotoge is that they know how to write a very specific and well thought out power scaling system. And not just power scaling system, also just character writing in general. And these aren't my words, because I personally really enjoyed Jigokuraku sensei's character writing in Hell's Paradise, but also I do see where this commenter is coming from. All of these things considered, I think Ayashimon might need a little help to get onto a good track as a story going forward, but I personally think that Chapter 9 was a great chapter to steer it that way. Maybe this isn't the big final showdown like I originally feared. Maybe this is just the start of a wild goose chase that the Enma Syndicate and Chairman Dopo go on to try to catch the true heir to the organization and her crew. Chapter 9 of Ayashimon has definitely given me some cautious optimism for the future of this series, and for that, I think I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Someone's car alarm is going off. I'm going to have to ask you to kindly shut the fuck up. Okay, whatever, my camera's gonna die, so I'm just gonna keep going. This was most definitely, in my opinion, the best chapter for entertainment so far in Ayashimon, and I 100% attribute that to the fact that we're getting more pages per chapter now. I feel like more information can be conveyed per chapter than could be before, and that really had me hooked on everything that was going on this time around. It actually feels a little bit more like an episode of an anime than a chapter of a manga, just from how much more forward momentum we could get in the story in one chapter now. I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on this one, so I'm just gonna give the entertainment value a solid 9 out of 10 for Chapter 9. I talked a little bit about Urara's monstrous new form before, but let's talk about her Tanto dagger again. I think it's definitely going to become some kind of Chekhov's gun concept in the future. If a character's entire power is tied to that of one specific item, what's gonna happen if that one item gets lost in the future? That's probably gonna be what Maruo's purpose is in the future of this series, because I definitely see that dagger being either destroyed or lost or stolen or something. It's gonna be a problem. When a cool spiritual dagger is introduced in the first act of a story, it's gonna go off by the second act of the story. And once it goes off in the second act of the story, it'll be lost by the third. I just kind of changed the rules to Chekhov's gun, but whatever. This entire chapter actually kind of begs the question of why did Urara hire Maruo in the first place if she can just turn into a giant badass wolf and murk bitches on her own? What does she need Maruo for? I'm probably just ruining this for myself if I keep asking these kinds of questions, so I'm gonna stop right there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the potential concern for the missed opportunity of Chairman Dopo's street gang uprising. From the beginning of Ayashimon, the one thing that's been hinted at fairly consistently in the promotional images is the Hyakiyagyo, or the Night Parade of 1,000 Demons. You might be familiar with this concept from movies like Spirited Away. Oh, I just threw up in my mouth. If you're not familiar with what a Hyakiyagyo is, it's when a bunch of yokai go through the streets in a giant parade and riot party, and anyone who witnesses it gets either killed or spirited away. And I was under the impression that Chairman Dopo's Joker-like street uprising with all of these gangs was going to be the Hyakuryagyo of the series, but it seems like it was kind of skipped over for the most part just to get to the Maruo, Urara, and Chairman Doppo fight. Or so I had originally thought, but wouldn't it make a lot more sense if Chairman Doppo's overall true master Keikaku means plan, would be a massive Hyakuryagyo spiritual uprising throughout the streets of Japan? And no, I'm not just talking a gang turf war, I'm talking about the entirety of Japan. My prediction is that Chairman Doppo wants to bring about the end of the age of the man and the beginning of the age of the ghost. And he's gonna do this by initiating a spirit parade throughout the entirety of Japan, where any human who witnesses it either dies or gets taken to the land of the spirits. If that's the endgame plot to Ayashimon, then it's gonna be a 10 out of 10 for me, but that's just my own speculation. As for Chapter 9 though, I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. Also, I have this cute little card I got. It was a thank you card from one of my friends from Japan that has a Hyakuryagyo on it, a spirit parade. It's really cute. Ugh. That was really gross when I threw up in my mouth. I still taste it. After another fire chapter of Ayashimon, we're left with an overall score of 8.25 out of 10. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know what your score out of 10 for Chapter 9 is down in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot, and I love making these videos for you guys in my free time. Feel free to also follow me on social media. I have links to those down in the description below. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.